So I have been intentionally celibate for a year now, and I have now reached a phase in my life where I want to get back into dating. I've kind of like rediscovered my sexual energy. I've like rediscovered my desire because it was suppressed for such a long time. I was like focusing on my goals. But I've been confronted with something that I really didn't expect. I've been confronted with what I feel like is repackaged purity culture, but it's expressed in a way that's like, well, if you're like a high quality woman, you should hold back or not like have sex unless they're the man of your life kind of thing. They're your dream person. And I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the shame around sex for women, how it's been repackaged in modern society, how something has kind of like, we went through this period of time of feeling sexually liberated as women to now kind of going almost back a little bit. But it's kind of, the narrative around it is different. And I feel quite strongly about this because I don't agree that morality should be attached to women's desire. It's not attached to men's desire. We accept that men like want to fuck and nobody cares. But the moment that women say like that they want it or that they're craving it, obviously there's the traditional point of view, which is like, slut shaming, old fashioned people kind of like see that as a problem anyway. But even the people coming up like, in newer generations, many of them are being taught by some people in like my generation that like it's not said in the same way as it was traditionally, but it's the implication is that like your value basically lowers the moment you let a man in. I do believe that like if you find abstinence empowering, and I'll get onto this, if you find abstinence empowering, which I did for a really long time, like don't engage in like casual things if you find abstinence more empowering. Like there's a time and a place for that. But I feel like through the course of my life I've kind of switched from one to the other, and I don't think either one, and I've had experience with this, I don't think either one is inherently bad like society makes out. Like I feel like society, generally speaking, finds it more acceptable for women to abstain. You've got to make sure that you're doing either one, abstinence or casual, or like, being sexually more kind of like like casual sex. You've got to come at it from a place of wanting to feel good, wanting to feel empowered, like wanting to feel, like you're in your desire. And I know a lot of people, they have this point of view that's like, well, casual sex is inherently like, there's no such thing as empowering casual sex for women. Well, first of all, that's collapsing a huge amount of nuance. But secondly, why not? Because it's not a case of one against the other. It's where you're coming at it from. If you're coming from a place of fear or avoidance or attachment for either one, like you're scared to get attached so you abstain, or you're trying to feel attached so you do casual stuff, you're trying to feed that anxious attachment style, or you're trying to feed limerence, or you're trying to like feed maybe even your avoidance of relationships and commitment, or with abstinence you're avoiding pain or fear of being rejected. Those are not good reasons to be doing one or the other, okay? It's not about one or the other, whether or not it's good or bad. Neither of them are inherently good or bad. They're kind of neutral. It's how you come at it, okay? Like it's what your intention is with it. For example, for me, I was abstinent for a long time because I wanted to regulate my nervous system. I didn't want to engage with men. I'd had like a casual phase kind of in my early 20s, and I wanted to regulate my nervous system. I wanted to be at peace. There was like a bunch of other stuff going on. I wanted to focus on my goals, channel all my desire, all my energy into my goals, into building my business, into building my content up. That's what my goal was. I wanted to use that sexual energy and channel it into creating my empire. However, there's been a shift in the past couple months where I've rediscovered my sexuality. Honestly, when I was at that point, I found like anybody looking at me, I was like, fuck off. I don't want to even engage with you. I don't like, I'm I don't want that. It came from a place of empowerment of like, I want to channel this elsewhere. But there has been a switch, as I said, and I'm now in that situation or in a phase in my life right now where I want to fuck. I want to like have that in my life again. I want to engage in that. And yes, I want to meet the love of my life, obviously. And I think that's always going to be my intention, to be honest. Whenever I meet somebody new, I'm not going to like put pressure on it, and I'm always going to like be open and like be okay with it maybe being more casual. But fundamentally, yes, I would like to meet somebody and be like in a long-term relationship with them. But in the meantime, I also want to have fun. I want to have fun. Like, I want to enjoy my desire. I want to feel desired. I want to feel like have that excitement of dating and the romance and all that kind of thing. And so the idea that I have around casual dating is that realistically, because I still intend to, like, I'm not going to put pressure on it, but my ultimate goal, realistically, I'm not chasing it, but my ultimate goal is to find the right one. So I've got this like quite good balance where I'm not like putting pressure on every single person that I meet, like this has to be the person, this has to work, like I hope this works. I'm not thinking like that. But equally, I'm also like, you know, not open to it. Like, do you know what I mean? And so because of that, when it comes to casual dating now, and because I've grown a lot, and because I've like regulated my nervous system, and because of all these different things that I've been doing and learned from all my experiences when I did casual before, I've you know, really established my standards. They're pretty much the same standards for my future husband. Bar, obviously, certain things, because he's got to stand out from the rest of them. But my standards for casual dating are still very high. Still expect a huge amount of respect. Still want them to, you know, be very compassionate, empathetic, self-aware, like all these different things. I want them to be good at aftercare. I want them to be, you know, considerate. I want them to take me out on dates. I want them to consider my safety. There's all these different standards that you can still maintain while being casual at the same time, or like while just thinking in sort of like having intentions of a more casual thing. And I know this exists because I've done it before. I did it in my early 20s, like not early 20s, I guess like mid 20s. I had like people in my life that it was casual, but like we still like dated, we still, you know, I still got courted, I still got treated very well. It's just that we both kind of mutually agreed that it probably wouldn't be anything more actually to do with circumstances outside of us, you know, like location or you know, different points in our lives, career. So, you know, I just don't like the assertion that casual somehow equals disrespect, somehow equals like you being taken advantage of. You can do casual things on your terms. You can. And the way that you do casual things on your terms is having really fucking sharp boundaries, is having a lot of self-awareness, is working on, you know, your self-esteem, your self-love, so that the power lies realistically with you. And as somebody who's self-aware, I'm sure, you know, it's not going to be a case of like, the power's in me, I'm going to be a dick. It's more like the power's with me, I can choose, I can decide how this goes down, and I still continue to respect that person, I'll still continue to communicate, like all those things. Casual dating in itself only becomes dangerous when you do not walk away at the first red flag. Like seriously, for me, like even the smallest thing will like put me off. So I know and I trust myself that the people that I choose to let in are going to be of a certain standard, because I get the ick from like behavior now. I get the ick from dodgy like comments or things that don't feel right. I'm so in tune with my gut. I think this is the thing, like you can do casual when you have a very strong sense of self and when you have high self-esteem. Casual works when you have strong self-esteem. And if you don't have strong self-esteem, yes, perhaps maybe like abstinence or like not engaging in that is a bit more safe. But if you trust, seriously, if you trust yourself, and you trust yourself to walk away at the first sign of disrespect, if you trust yourself to like, you know, say no when things don't work, if you trust yourself to like be able to disengage when behaviors give you the ick or behaviors just become unattractive, if you can trust your gut, that's all you can do. And I think the thing is, we often think, oh, well, but if I abstain and I just make sure that I just am really specific about who I want and like that's all I want and I'll just go for them, you're still not guaranteed that they will not hurt you or do you know what I mean? You can't go through life not being, you know, open to fun experiences or to just experiences in general or to romance or to love because you're worried about being hurt. There's got to be a balance. You can't just go one way or the other. You can't be like ridiculously open where you're like exposing yourself and therefore like you're exposing yourself to harm. But there's got to be a balance between the two, right? You still, you know, being able to remain like soft while also having strong boundaries is the best thing. I think people really struggle with kind of duality or balance. You know, it has to be this black and white thing. Casual's bad, abstinence is good. No, there's merits to both. And it depends on where you're coming at it from. Are you coming at it from a place of fear? Or are you coming at it from a place of empowerment? I know myself, I know what's up, I know what I'll tolerate, I know what I won't tolerate. And letting go of what you can't control. Okay, you can't control whether or not somebody is going to be dodgy, be disrespectful, be rude, or whatever. You can't control that. You can't. All you can do is have like structures in place that keep you safe. For example, you know, you give them a decent amount of time. Ideally, sometimes you don't need to because you just kind of trust them. Again, it's up to your discernment, but give them time to reveal their true self to you. People can pretend for like a month or two. Beyond that, they can't. So like, if you're worried about that element, give yourself or give both of you time to figure each other out. People can't pretend forever. And that's how you keep yourself safe. For example, that could be one of your boundaries. A boundary could be, you know, I don't like negging comments or I don't like disrespect, and walk away. The moment that it feels off, bye-bye. Because I think the reason why sometimes casual doesn't work for people is because they ignore those red flags. Because maybe they're in limerence, maybe they're, you know, obsessed with the idea of somebody and they so desperately want them to be the person that they think that they are, and they're not. You know, like, when you like yourself and you work on yourself and you work on your self-concept and like self-love and pouring into yourself, and you've got all this other stuff going on outside of romance, it is very difficult for somebody to be taken advantage because you're too ruthless with this stuff. You like yourself too much to tolerate any bullshit. When you trust your gut, it's very empowering. I mean, I heard this thing earlier. I saw a video and it's this lady, and she was saying how she went on this date with somebody, or at least they were prepping for the date, and she said, look, what do I need to wear? And he said, look, something casual, something that you'd wear maybe for like a movie night kind of thing. Anyway, turn up to the date, he booked a Michelin star restaurant, clearly to humiliate her. And besides the blatant disrespect and fucking awful kind of like behavior that is, she immediately like removed herself from the situation and blocked him. She wasn't sending him paragraphs. She wasn't like trying to convince him that what he did was wrong or anything like that. She just removed herself. She trusted her gut. She called it at the time, and that was it. That's I'm not having that. She could not have avoided that situation. It's good that she went into these situations or went into this situation with openness, okay? Like, we don't want to get to a point where, and I understand it's like scary because it's like, I don't want that kind of humiliation to happen to me. We understand that, but like, in order to find the right person, you do have to remain open. And she, I'm sure, will continue to remain open because she just trusts herself to always call it when something feels off, when something dodgy happens. You know, it would have been probably so easy for her to just be like, oh, like, yeah, maybe like make excuses for him or or to just like push through. No, she called it, the situation was uncomfortable, whatever, like she wasn't tolerating it because her boundaries are strong. And that's like an example of a situation where you feel you can't control other people, you can't control how they're going to behave, you can't control the fact that they might do disrespectful things, but what you can control is yourself and how you respond to it, and that's all you can do. And I get that we don't want to like, some of us don't want to even like risk putting ourselves in a situation where we get humiliated like that. But if you are looking for romance, and if you're looking for fun, and if you're looking for, you know, like desirable situations and where you feel desired and you feel like sexually expressed, there is going to have to be some degree of openness. You can't avoid it. You can't. It's avoidance by avoiding it. And if you're abstaining through avoidance, that's also not healthy. Just like doing casual stuff because of attachment or because you want to avoid to fill is also not healthy. It fundamentally always comes back to your intention. It does. And, you know, there's an added element as well of like, you know, we live under patriarchy. So like realistically, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. Like whether we're prudish and we abstain, or we're, you know, slutty and we go and like do casual stuff, you can't win as a woman. It's just not like, you can't. You've got to just do what you want to do and do things from a place of like integrity, from empowerment, from self-love. And I think this is why like a lot of people can't do casual, because a lot of people don't do the fucking work. A lot of people don't do the work. So abstinence is a very quick and easy way of just like avoiding difficult things, even if you desire it, even if you desire like fun casual stuff. Towards the end of my mid-20s and before I got into a relationship, I really did reach a point in my dating where it had been really tough for a while. I've been casual like in general my early 20s, and I got to a point where I was really fucking enjoying dating. I loved it. Like I loved the ritual. I loved being taken out for dinner. I loved having chats. I loved it when like a guy would want to invest in the date and make it a really good experience. I absolutely loved all that stuff. And I really was at a point before I met my ex, I was really enjoying dating. I really was. I felt like I felt empowered. I trusted myself the moment that something felt off. No, bye, see ya. I wouldn't explain. I wouldn't negotiate. I wouldn't try and like convince the other person of my worth. I would just, you know, book it. You know, I'd just leave. And I feel like now I'm also coming from that place. I'm also coming from that place of like, I do it on my terms. And it's because I believe, because I've done the inner work to trust myself, to like call it whenever it's necessary. I've worked on trusting my gut, listening to my gut rather than like gaslight myself or avoiding it. I've worked on my standards, like fully. I'll show you. So in this book, I've literally, so it's really clear in my head. I've written like literally like pages of, first of all, the standards I have for my, you know, my husband or like my dream guy. But I've also got a section in there which is just my standards, like, or maybe the slight differentiation in like, not standards necessarily, but more like expectations. So for example, like I would like my husband to be rich, like well off. But if I'm casual with somebody, that's not a deal breaker. Like, do you know what I mean? As long as like they are generous, they have an abundant mindset, they want to like pay for dates and like give me a good experience, that's not a deal breaker for me. So I've got those kind of things in my journal as well of like what I want. So I think when you have like clear standards, when you have it, like write down what you're looking for, like make it so clear in your head so that you can refer to it when you're not sure or when you're kind of questioning yourself. I don't gaslight myself. If I feel off or if something feels wrong, I'll just leave it. I'm not, no. I don't overexert energy into like explaining to people like what they've done wrong. If they don't know, they're sorry, but like grow up. Yeah. And like, that's all you can do. That's all you can do. And I think sometimes we think, oh no, but what if like I end up getting with them or sleeping with them and they turn out to be a dick? Well, first of all, hopefully like just giving them time to like date you and find out about them. And if you have all those things I just listed about like, you know, standards and stuff and boundaries and gut feeling, you'll hopefully weed them out anyway. So again, trust yourself. But also that could still be the same with a relationship. You know, you could get into a marriage with somebody or a relationship with somebody and they could still hurt you further down the line. You're never, like, there's no guarantee when you even get into a committed relationship with somebody or marriage with somebody that they're not going to hurt you further down the line. You can't ever, like, there's no way of ever, like, fully eradicating that possibility or that contingency. You can't. So all you can do is just trust that with the information that you have at the time, you can call it. And you can, you know, enjoy what you can from it. You can enjoy that part of you. You cannot avoid being hurt. You can't. It's like, it is part of like engaging in romance and desire and fun and feeling good. And I think, you know, like when you get to a point where you're really like sure of yourself and you love yourself, casual can be so fun. It really can. When it's on your terms, it can be so fucking fun. It really can. Like, it might take a bit to like build up to these things, but it really can, especially when you've got other things going on. You know, if you're, like I said, for me, I feel like I'm in a really good position because I'm so happy being single. Like, genuinely, 99% of my life is fantastic. Like, sometimes I do like miss, obviously, you know, touch and like wanting to be kind of like close to somebody and like obviously having sex, etc. But on a day-to-day basis, like, I'm so fulfilled in, you know, what I do. At most of my time, I'm just creating stuff, whether it's like dance, I'm doing acting, I'm doing public speaking, I'm doing content creation, I'm doing my business stuff, I'm, you know, manifesting, journaling, like visualizing. My days look amazing. Like, I'm so fulfilled in my own life. And I think when you can get to that point where you really are fulfilled and you're not trying to distract yourself, doing casual stuff can work just as well as, you know, maybe if you choose not to do that stuff and you want to pour everything into your creativity. Like, so like, we got to think, like, what kind of, is it adding to your life? Is it like complementing your life? Or is it filling a void? Because if you're trying to, you know, fill a void with sex or fill a void with being desired, that's like, that can be dangerous. Just like if you're abstaining because you're scared of like what being vulnerable will do and like etc. That's also not great. Again, forever comes back to the root of you, what your intentions are, where you're at, like why you're doing certain things. Because I do feel like this shame, this kind of like feeling, or the stuff that I've been seeing maybe recently, of like, oh, you should wait until you find the right person. You shouldn't be even giving access, like giving men access to your body. Yes, I understand that, because like 90% of men suck, but like, not 90%, you know what I mean? Like, there are a big majority of men that really just do not deserve to have access to women's bodies. But like, again, it's putting the power in them. It's like, I'm going to revoke access, even if it's to my detriment. Like, I'm going to revoke access to like, do you know what I mean? It's not coming from a place of like, I'm going to do this for myself and because I feel good. It's like, I'm going to do this to, not like, oh, how do you say it? Like, I'm going to do this in order to like, it's reactionary. It's reactive. It's not proactive. Thank God. Okay. It's not proactive. Proactive would be like, okay, I'm going to, like I've already said, everything that I've said in terms of, I'm going to have these standards, I'm going to have these boundaries, I'm going to walk away at the first red flag, have all these structures in place to make sure that like I keep myself safe and I maximise my desire. Reactive is like, no, I'm not going to let them in. Like, well, they want this and I'm not going to give it to them. Like, it's still placing the power in them. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Yeah, it's still placing the power in them. And not letting men in is like great advice in terms of just building up people's standards. because we should have high standards when it comes to letting people in, obviously. But I just feel like it's too black and white thinking. Like, there's got to be some grey area, there's got to be some nuance, especially if you're somebody that wants to have sex, like wants to feel desired, like wants to desire somebody else, like wants to have this like fantastic experience with somebody that you have like chemistry with. You know, I just don't think that casual equals lack of discernment. I think it has meant that because most people are not always doing the inner work. Like, a lot of people do approach casual dating from a traumatized point of view, like I was. Like, I was honestly partly definitely, like when I was 21, 22, I was approaching casual dating from a void point of view, from an attached limerence point of view. I was doing it because I felt sad, because it was COVID, I was depressed. I was doing it because I wanted to fill a void. And I think, unfortunately, the culture around casual dating is that most people are probably doing it from that place because they haven't done maybe that much healing work around their attachment, around limerence and so on. So it does look like casual can only ever be a negative thing, can only ever be coming from this place of trauma and from, you know, attachment. But that's just not the case. Casual dating or abstinence inherently are neutral. It's how you approach it, and that's obviously what I've spoken about in this video. You know, I'm coming from a place of I personally feel empowerment because it's on my fucking terms, or at least it will be. This is going to be what my life's probably going to be like. It's going to be yo-yoing between the two. In some stages of my life, I'm going to feel more like sexual energy, and I'm going to want to like pour it into like casual dating or just dating in general. Or I'm gonna, you know, want to just keep it for myself, and that's also fine. Like, both, I feel like, for me, are coming from a place of empowerment, because it's not about the thing, it's about the meaning behind it for you and where it's coming from, and whether it's coming from a healed place or whether it's not, you know? Because I think we also forget that abstinence can also come from an unhealed place. Like, we can abstain from sex because we are scared of vulnerability. We're avoidant. We're like worried about letting people in. We've become hard. We've been hurt so many times that we've forgotten what it's like to be open, and therefore we miss out, if that's what we want, obviously. Both are not good for coming from that place, but coming from a place of empowerment is, I think, where it works on your terms. So yeah, that's my little 2 pence into this debate, and I don't know, I hope you find it validating, because I don't think a morality should be attached to like how we choose to externalize our sexual energy as women. It just isn't applied to men in the same way. It irritates me in that way. We shouldn't apply like morality to our desire. We are like sexual beings just as much as like men are, and we should be able to express that in all ways, in the ways that we want to. And it's important to marry that with, you know, structures that keep you safe, structures and boundaries and so on that keep you like emotionally safe. And I think that just comes with time and healing and self-awareness, and knowing where you want to place that desire and where it's going to benefit you the most and where it's going to make you feel the best. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments. This video is, as usual, sponsored by my People Pleaser to Powerhouse course, online, 4 weeks, £200 off in December. I kind of feel like the video is going to be posted after December. But anyway, there might be a January sale, you never know. So, you know, keep your eyes peeled. And it's basically taking you from somebody who struggles to self-advocate, to who is self-silencing, who puts their needs behind everybody else's, who struggles to say no, to being this magnetic version of you, to being this person that goes from chasing to attracting, that goes from being this sort of like shell version of yourself and feeling guilty all the time, to literally be able to set boundaries so easily, being your authentic self, being able to unmask, being able to stand on your own 2 feet, like with integrity, and just not tolerating any fucking bullshit anymore. So if you're interested in that transformation, head over to the link below. And with that, I will see you in my next video. Bye.